Hello, I'm Professor Wayne. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel on career advice. Before I start on today's advice, please hit the subscribe button so that you can receive my future videos. So today's question I hope to answer is, my students came to me and asked, as they prepare for their interviews, they come across a lot of information about that the candidates having to demonstrate critical thinking and analytical skills. So the question is boiled down to, how do I demonstrate that during an interview? So usually my advice to my students as they prepare to go on their interview is that you can try to follow a three-step process that I personally use a lot when I was out there interviewing, searching for jobs. Usually the form of questions that comes out try to understand how you actually think, how you process information, and how you draw conclusions. So the form of questions that you will get is usually scenario-based. Scenario-based questions are very straightforward, yet they're quite difficult to respond to or prepare for. Every business, every team, every manager, every interviewer tend to give different scenarios in the context of what they do. But the bottom line, their outcome, their goal is always giving a scenario, try to understand how your brain processes that scenario and what you would do if you were in that scenario. So I follow a three-step approach, quite frankly, because I tend to like to distill all this variety of questions, but then I understand the outcome that they're looking for, and then I try to create something that I can easily remember myself and kind of practice that over and over again, that tend to be applicable to all kinds of variations of scenarios that I may get in my interviews. So what is that three-step process in my mind? So I kind of distill that down to, when I get a scenario questions, I will first start it off by stage one by saying, how can I respond to the interviewer based on the scenarios I'm given? How can I explain I need more information, and what I will do to go get more information? If you're giving the question and then you respond by saying, based on what the scenario you just provided, I think I understand what you're asking. You want me to try to conclude or offer options of what I would do in this particular situation. I first have to understand a little bit more. So what I would do, as you explained to the interviewer, what I would do is I will go out and talk to that individual, and I would like to know A and B and C, because I think those information will be very valuable for me to draw conclusions, to analyze. Those information that you did not share in the scenario, I think they're relevant. So you will go down that first stage by first facing your mental three-step process. You will explain to the interviewer you want to go out and acquire more information from the parties involved within that scenario. Then once you find the relevant information that will help you process the situation, again, those kind of questions, there's no right or wrong answers. There's nothing there to say that you cannot go out and acquire more information. So once you assume you're going to acquire those information, then you explain to the interviewer how you want to use those information on top of the information they provided to you in the scenario in the first place. Then you go into actually mentally in the stage two process, where what does that information tells you? How does that help you? How do they correlate? So you kind of talk through how you want to use those informations that you acquired, or those informations that's already within the scenario. And then as you kind of talk through that, I think then it will easily allow you the brain to kind of formulate, because of the information that you're making assumptions that you will have, that will then help you draw certain conclusions. Then you're into the stage three of your mental processing of that scenario-based question. Then you will tell the interviewer, based on that, I think option one is I will do this. But in the event that one of my scenario, or one of the information that you're assuming is actually different, then you will do option B. So it's always good to let them know that you don't just draw a single conclusion, because the information is fairly vague, and then you have to analyze multiple points of information. So it's always good to demonstrate that your conclusion have one or two options, and their major differences is dependent on certain things that you may or may not have within the scenario. So it's a little bit hard to comprehend, but I guess what I'm saying is, try to practice, try to acquire more information, take those information, make assumptions, analyze how they correlate to the scenario, and then based on that, how would you provide one or two or three options as your output. and then the output should always align to some kind of outcome that you assume the question is trying to get to in that particular situation. So it does take a lot of practice. I figured it out the hard way. It took me a lot of interviews to kind of walking away thinking I just did not answer those questions as effectively as I hoped. So I go back and reflect a lot of those questions on my own in my earlier career days. And then I kind of finally decided to say, I'm gonna come up with a method that I can deal with this across the board. And this is the way that I came up with many years ago, and it worked very well for me. So in a nutshell, I hope you find that useful. Again, I understand this one's a little bit hard to comprehend, but feel free to hit me up with additional follow-up questions in the comments below, or feel free to email me. I will be more than happy to elaborate a little bit more based on your feedback in future videos. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you.